We are here today to bring together 4 young artists to represent the VCE Creative Showcase that is happening here at Barringer Gallery in February, from the 15th to the 18th of February, celebrating all the emerging artists that graduated from art or studio art from all the schools in the Yarraranges district last year in 2018. This year we have 17 schools participating in the exhibition with, I haven't even counted how many incredible pieces of artwork. And we have a great public program happening as well on Saturday the 16th of February from 2 to 4, completely free for any local emerging or even established artists that want to come along and participate in some professional development, some fun art making activities, speed dating for artists, learn how to use social media to promote your art, smash and chat with Jessie, and all sorts of other crazy fun things, food, music, art. What more do you need? This has been presented by Barringer and in partnership with Yarra Ranges Council. So I'd like to know what 5 words you would use to describe your artwork.
Sunsets make me emotional.
Yeah, you're on.
Heartfelt, spontaneous, colourful, a little bit odd, and meaningful.
So the VCE asks you to talk about themes, and themes can be so varied. And in your processes that you went through making your artworks, I'm sure you kind of like took your theme in lots of different angles and directions. Can you talk to me about maybe one direction that you kind of started going towards and then changed your mind about and to end up where you are now?
I initially wanted just to show figures interacting with an environment, but that changed when I thought of showing more of a emotional connection with the figures and the landscape itself. And then that also made me think, how can we put a more deeper message behind it? So that moved into me making the vertical blinds have the transition between the positive and negative landscape.
Cool. And so the vertical blinds weren't part of the original concept?
No, they were originally supposed to be just a standard landscape, but then I came up with this honestly crazy idea, and then I was stubborn enough to make it a reality. So.
And what were some of the hard moments you had when you say stubborn enough to make it a reality?
Ordering in the materials, convincing my teacher that it was actually going to work, having self-confidence, and then the most terrifying thing was actually cutting it up and gluing it onto the blinds itself.
Yeah. How did you feel when you saw it finally work?
Relieved.
Yeah.
It's a little bit starstruck in the fact that it actually worked, because I didn't think about the whole transition process properly until like the last couple of days before it was all due in.
I initially wanted to mainly have people interacting and like body language and all that kind of thing to convey emotion, like in the smaller picture. But as I was doing trials to try to figure out how to paint landscapes, because I didn't know how, I realized that I could convey emotion pretty effectively just with a landscape with no people in it.
And so how far along in the process were you by the time you worked that out?
Well, it was during Unit 3, I guess, because I already knew how to paint people, because that's like what I do most often. So I was practicing landscapes a lot, and they were working out really well. So I decided to continue doing that. And
so what made you choose this particular landscape?
So I wanted to look at local environments that were sort of like, I grew up here, so this was part of my like memory. And so this one, I liked that it combines the sort of generic kind of urban landscape, like there's car dealerships and a road and street lights. And then the sunset behind is really beautiful naturally. So I think that's an interesting juxtaposition to have, and it creates an interesting emotion, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Claire, did you want to attempt that one?
Yeah, I think I started off the term, I was experimenting with like the low light spotlighted onto the face, but it wasn't until I think it was the end of term 3 and I went away to Darwin and I visited an Indigenous art gallery, and yeah, there was just something about that. It didn't have any connection to my portraiture or whatever, but the fact that through their artwork they really hit home, like hit a message inside of me, and it was a really intense, like, wow, now I understand what it means to be an artist is to like make people feel something with your work. So I think, and then when I came back from that, I was like, right, I just need to really intensify everything that I'm doing, and that's kind of how it's slightly more bold to what my original Unit 3 work was. Like the light is more intense and the dark and the surrounding is a lot more intense. So yeah, that was probably the only change that really hit me.
And did you always have young boys as your subject matter?
No, I think I did a few experiments with my younger cousin, who's maybe 6 and she's a girl, and one with my older sister as well, and she's 19 or whatever, but I think this age group kind of intensified it, yeah, and made it a lot more vulnerable as well, I think, yeah.
I have a question for Ruth. She's like, yes! Ruth, what, you graduated from high school a year before these guys, and you participated in the VC Creative Showcase last time. What was the thing that you took the most out of doing the VC Showcase?
I think it was just a really great experience, just to have my work exhibited in like a professional setting, and yeah, and meeting all the people that put it together and stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
And so you're part of the exhibition's assistance alumni program, which is lots of words, I don't know how to put them in the right order. What made you apply for that, and what so far have you experienced, gained, etc. from doing this particular project?
Well, I really loved getting involved in the whole VC Creative Showcase when I was in it, and I thought it'd be really interesting to see it from the other perspective, so from looking at and then like putting it all together. And then also I just love meeting people that have similar interests, and so it's really nice just to get involved in a community like of artists and like of art that means a lot to me. So I think that's really good.
Awesome.
So my daughter is also doing studio art, and from her I know that the process is incredibly rigorous in terms of planning and finding your inspirations, and the teachers are constantly holding you accountable to those things. When you think back on that process, how do you think it will help you going forward as an artist?
Well, it allowed me to really get a better understanding on the step-by-step process it is in developing your artwork, and then also having it something that you can look back on as like a reminder of different alternative pathways that you may have wanted to take or no, you shouldn't have taken. And it was definitely hard keeping all the annotations and information as up to date as possible, but it definitely did help my creative process in really nutting out the finer ideas that led to me creating the artwork that I did. And I believe that it would be, it was a very useful lesson that I can take into future artworks.
I think the fact that you have to plan everything out beforehand in studio art, I mean, I'd never made art specifically to communicate a meaning before, so I think there was a really interesting process of figuring out what worked to communicate a meaning, like it's kind of a design process. So I think that's a really interesting skill to have going into the future with artwork.
Learning that building block.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I learned a bit about exploration and not, I jumped from a biology class into studio arts, not having done anything. I just kind of felt like I just wanted to do it, and I just jumped in. So I had no idea, and I was terrible at the start. I just took snapshots and just tried to make it work. But yeah, definitely taking a step back and going, okay, it's okay if it looks terrible, it's, if it's not perfect. And then just slowly working through exploring different ways you can do it. Like I hadn't done the darkroom process before, and I immediately loved that as soon as I went in. So yeah, knowing that you can explore through an art field and it doesn't have to be what you originally thought you could do or couldn't do. If you want to do it and you're willing to explore it, then yeah, something good will come out of it, I think. Yeah.
This one's actually for Renee. Is that what is it like to come back and be in a supporting role to these guys?
Exciting, because I remember how exciting it was when I was in it. So now I get to relive the excitement of having the work exhibited, because you spend so much time doing the work. Like you spend a whole year planning it and creating it, and then sort of once it's over, it's a bit like, oh, you've spent so much time on this. So being able to exhibit it, you get to celebrate all of the work that you've done, and you get to share it with people, and that's a bit I love. Like I love being able to see other people's work and to understand why they've created it and what they've created. So I find it really exciting to work with other people and see what they've created. So yeah, I find it really exciting.
Yeah. Cool.